When Karoline Leavitt confronts Barack Obama, the whole audience is in shock. Mr. President, I have the documents right here, signed, time-stamped, and classified until last year. Care to explain this? Barack Obama didn't flinch, not yet, but Karoline Leavitt saw it. The fractional pause, the subtle shift in his jaw. And that was enough. After months of chasing dead ends and being stonewalled by polished smiles and invisible gatekeepers, she was finally in the same room, face to face with the man she believed had orchestrated the cover-up of a decade. Karoline Leavitt had always played hard. It started innocently enough, a tip from a former intelligence analyst who'd retired early and regretted staying silent. He handed her a file that didn't look like much at first, but inside, embedded in the jargon and blacked-out pages, were leads, subtle clues pointing to an off-books program launched during the Obama administration, connected to domestic surveillance, foreign actors, and something even darker. Every door she knocked on led to another locked hallway, but she kept digging. Then came the leak, a cache of documents quietly declassified during a recent records audit. Few paid attention, but Karoline did. She cross-referenced metadata, matched code names to operations, and mapped out the connections. The same obscure contractor popped up in every thread. And at the center of it all, a directive signed in 2010, initials BHO in the margin, authorizing contingent operational discretion on a program that, on paper, didn't exist. Which brings us here, inside a Georgetown event billed as a fireside conversation between former President Barack Obama and a hand-picked circle of rising political leaders. Karoline wasn't on the original guest list, but she got in. All it took was a call to a sympathetic donor and a well-timed RSVP from an associate. She waited until halfway through the event. When the moderator opened the floor for questions, she stood, calmly, clearly, and then she said it. Mr. President, during your administration, a program was authorized, Project Insight, allegedly to monitor cyber threats. But records show it was used to track private citizens without warrants, including journalists, donors, and political opponents. Care to comment on that? The room shifted. Some looked amused, others confused. Obama leaned back, smiling with a practiced ease. That's a pretty cinematic claim. Sounds like something out of a Tom Clancy novel. A few chuckles. The moderator smiled, trying to move on. Karoline didn't. She pulled the folder from her bag, thick, creased, and humming with tension. She placed it firmly on the table in front of him. This isn't fiction, she said. This document is yours, and it's real. Obama's gaze dropped to the folder, then back to her face. His voice lowered just a notch. You're saying I approved illegal surveillance operations against American citizens? I'm saying the directive you signed created the legal framework for it. Contractors exploited it. The NSA avoided oversight. And you knew it? The moderator cleared his throat. Let's not pretend this isn't happening, Karoline cut in. Page 6, paragraph 3. Your initials next to the operational clause. Permanent contingent monitoring of digital traffic for national stability indicators. That clause was used to justify unregulated mass surveillance, well beyond anything approved by Congress. Obama took a breath. I'm familiar with the language, but that document has no context. Karoline raised an eyebrow. So what's the context then? Why were American journalists flagged under the code Domestic Echo? Why was metadata from U.S. senators forwarded to FusionLink, a private firm in Zurich? Why did your administration pay them through a shell company in Cyprus? Someone in the audience gasped. Obama's posture stiffened. You're threading conspiracy with coincidence. If this were true, it would have come out years ago. Karoline's voice sharpened. It almost did. In 2014, when a whistleblower tried to contact Congress, his name was Evan Kohler. He died in a car crash 3 days after his first contact attempt. I've spoken to his widow. I've seen the original messages. He referenced Project Insight by name. Obama narrowed his eyes. This is a dangerous road you're going down, Ms. Leavitt. Then stop me. Refute it. Tell this room those documents are fake. He didn't speak. I'm not some Twitter pundit, Karoline pressed on. This isn't clickbait. I have sources, documents, patterns, and a timeline that runs directly through your West Wing. The silence in the room thickened. No one was laughing now. You're accusing me of criminal activity, Obama said quietly. Treason, essentially. I'm demanding accountability, she shot back. You claim to be a president of transparency. Prove it. Acknowledge the program. Tell the American people what it was really for. Obama didn't look at her. His eyes drifted across the room. At the audience, the cameras, the staffers beginning to edge closer, security assessing the temperature. Finally, he said, You want a headline? That's all this is. Karoline's face hardened. I want the truth. You once said, sunlight is the best disinfectant. Let's shine some, shall we? She opened the folder and began pulling out documents, fanning them like cards. Annotated emails, expense logs, technical memos with redacted names, all linking back to the same program. All pointing to something no one wanted to talk about. You can walk away from this podium, she said, but the facts are out. And if I disappear tomorrow, these documents won't. He blinked. Once. Twice. That sounded like a threat. No, Karoline said. It's a promise. Obama stood, slowly adjusted his jacket. You don't understand the weight of what you're playing with, he said quietly. Then educate me, she replied. Publicly, under oath. He paused, weighing his words. There are forces beyond any one administration. Decisions made in the name of security sometimes cross lines no one admits. You think you've uncovered something new, but the truth is more complicated and far more dangerous. Karoline's eyes didn't waver. The American people deserve to know what you call complicated. His gaze sharpened. You're young, Ms. Leavitt, and you're ambitious, but ambition without caution is reckless. You risk lives. Her voice dropped, firm as steel. I'm willing to risk everything to bring this to light. The room held its breath. Obama's jaw clenched. For a heartbeat, the man who had commanded millions of lives looked like a man afraid. Then with deliberate calm, he said, You're walking a razor's edge. Step back before you fall. He turned away. The moderator, pale and rattled, tried to regain control. Well, I think we'll wrap things there. Thank you, President Obama, and thank you, Ms. Leavitt, for, your engagement. Obama walked out the side door, followed quickly by aides, the folder still on the table. Karoline stayed where she was, watching him go, surrounded by silence that pulsed with questions no one dared to say aloud. She didn't sit down. And in that moment, as the door closed behind him, she realized something chilling. The real confrontation hadn't even begun.